Did you know that 80% of millionaires are self-made and most of them started from absolute zero? Quite a thought to ponder, isn't it? It's a surprising fact of wealth accumulation. It's not about winning the lottery or inheriting a fortune. It's about starting from the ground up, often from the depths of poverty. Imagine standing at the bottom of a mountain looking up at the peak. It seems impossible, right? Yet, that's exactly where most of these self-made millionaires started. They were at the bottom, looking up, dreaming of what could be. Maybe they were stuck in a dead-end job, barely making ends meet. Maybe they were living in a neighborhood where opportunity was as scarce as a four-leaf clover. Yet, they didn't let their situation define their future. They found a way to climb that mountain, to overcome those obstacles. They didn't just dream of wealth. They pursued it with determination and grit. They made sacrifices, they took risks, and they never gave up. They built their wealth step by step, brick by brick, until they reached the top. So if they can do it, why can't you? Meet John, a man who was born into abject poverty but turned his life around within a span of just 6 months. John's story begins in the heart of a forgotten neighborhood, where the streets were rough and the odds were stacked against him from day one. He was not born into wealth or privilege. He didn't have a trust fund or a safety net to fall back on. Instead, he was born into a world where every meal was a struggle, where the cold winter nights were as harsh as the realities he faced every day. As a child, John was often seen with a hopeful gleam in his eyes, a stark contrast to the bleak environment he was brought up in. He was always dreaming, always yearning for more. For him, the run-down buildings and the grimy streets were not a lifetime sentence, but a challenge to overcome. John's early life was a series of uphill battles. He worked odd jobs, selling newspapers, shining shoes, doing whatever he could to help his family make ends meet. But despite the hardships, he never let his circumstances define him. Instead, he let them fuel his desire for a better life. He yearned for a life where he didn't have to worry about the next meal or the next bill. A life where he could provide for his family without breaking his back day in and day out. The turning point in John's life arrived when he realized that dreaming of a better life wasn't enough. He understood that dreams without action were just illusions, and so he made a decision that would change his life forever. He decided he would not just dream of a better life, he would make it his reality. He knew the journey wouldn't be easy. He knew there would be obstacles and setbacks, but he also knew that the only way to change his circumstances was to change his mindset, to believe in his potential, and to take action. John, like many of us, dreamt of a better life. The question is, how did he make it a reality? John's journey to wealth began with a single decision, a decision that changed his life forever. He was once a man living paycheck to paycheck, stuck in the endless cycle of financial stress. But there was a moment in John's life, a moment of clarity, where everything changed. It wasn't a lottery win or an inheritance, it was a decision to take control, to steer his life in a direction he wanted it to go. His turning point came one cold evening. He was sitting in his small, worn-out apartment, looking at his pile of unpaid bills. The pressure was overwhelming. He felt the weight of his circumstances bearing down on him. But amidst all this, John had a revelation. He realized he had been a passenger in his own life, allowing the waves of circumstance to toss him around. It was time for him to become the captain. He decided he would no longer be a victim of his circumstances. Instead, he would be the architect of his own destiny. He realized that wealth wasn't about the balance in his bank account. It was about having the freedom to live life on his own terms, and to achieve that he needed to change. Change didn't come easy. It required courage, persistence, and an unwavering belief in himself, but John was ready. He was ready to take risks, to step out of his comfort zone, and to embrace the uncertainty of the future. He chose to be proactive, to be resilient, and to be persistent. This decision marked a pivotal point in John's life. It was the seed from which his future wealth grew. It was the spark that ignited the fire of transformation. It was the moment he chose to take charge of his life, to steer his own ship, and to chart his own course. John's decision wasn't just about money, it was about taking control, about making choices, and about taking action. It was about deciding to be the master of his own life. not a slave to his circumstances. John's decision was the first step on his path to wealth. But what did he do next? John's secret to wealth wasn't complicated. It was a simple strategy that anyone could follow. Now let's delve into the nitty-gritty of John's strategy. It all began with a fundamental shift in perspective. John started to view money not just as a means to buy things, but as a tool to grow and accumulate wealth. Instead of spending his hard-earned money on frivolous things, he invested in assets that would generate passive income over time. The first step in John's strategy was to save aggressively. He cut down on non-essential expenses, opting for a minimalist lifestyle. He saved every dollar he could and used it to fuel his wealth-building journey. It wasn't easy and it required a lot of discipline, but John was committed to his goal. Next, he focused on increasing his income. He worked overtime, took on side gigs, and even started a small online business. He was always on the lookout for opportunities to earn more. Then he invested wisely. John didn't have a background in finance, but he educated himself. He read books, attended seminars, and sought advice from financial experts. He started investing in low-risk assets, gradually moving towards high-risk, high-return investments as he learned more. Finally, he practiced patience. John understood that wealth accumulation is a slow process, and he was prepared to play the long game. He didn't expect overnight success and was not disheartened by short-term losses. He remained patient, knowing that his investments would pay off in the long run. John's strategy was not about getting rich quick. It was about making smart decisions, being disciplined, and having the patience to let his wealth grow over time. It was about understanding the value of money and using it as a tool to create a better future. John's strategy was simple, yet effective. But how did he stay motivated? John's journey wasn't smooth sailing. He faced numerous obstacles, but he never let them deter him. John was a man who had to grapple with the harsh realities of life. He faced financial difficulties and societal pressures that could have easily broken his spirit. But John, he was different. He had a burning desire to change his circumstances and would not let anything stand in his way. He was constantly met with skepticism and doubt from those around him. People would tell him that his plans were too ambitious, that he should stick to what he knows, that he should be content with what he had. But John never let negativity cloud his vision. He knew he had a goal to achieve, and he was determined to reach it no matter what. John also grappled with the fear of failure, the fear that he would put in all this work, all this effort, and still not succeed. But he didn't let this fear paralyze him. Instead, he used it as fuel. He used it to drive himself forward, to push himself harder, to strive for more. And then there were the practical challenges, the long hours, the sacrifices, the moments of doubt. There were times when John felt like giving up, times when he questioned if it was all worth it. But he always managed to pull himself together. He always managed to find the strength to carry on. He did this by reminding himself of his why, his reason for embarking on this journey in the first place. He reminded himself of the life he wanted to create, the future he wanted to build. This why became his anchor, his guiding light in the face of adversity. John also learned to embrace failure. He understood that failure was not the end, but a stepping stone to success. He saw it as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to improve. He saw it as a part of the journey, and he embraced it with open arms. John's resilience in the face of adversity was key to his success. But what was the result of his efforts? In just 6 months, John went from living in poverty to becoming a self-made millionaire. Imagine that. Half a year ago, John was just another face in the crowd, struggling to make ends meet. Today he stands tall as an epitome of financial success, a beacon of hope for all those who dare to dream. His journey, an inspiring testament to the power of perseverance and strategy, has transformed his life in ways he could have never imagined. John's fortune didn't fall from the sky. It was the fruit of his relentless labor, the culmination of a strategy formulated with foresight and executed with determination. His days were filled with tireless effort, his nights with strategic planning. His wealth wasn't born out of luck or privilege. It was the product of his hard work, his grit, his unwavering commitment to his vision. John's story isn't just about financial success. It's about personal transformation. From a man burdened by the weight of poverty he emerged a confident, self-assured individual, unafraid to take on the world. His success transcended the realm of finance and seeped into every aspect of his life. But perhaps the most striking result of John's journey is the impact it had on those around him. His success story inspired his community, sparking a wave of transformation. People began to believe in the possibility of change, the potential for prosperity. They saw in John's story a blueprint for their own success, a roadmap to financial freedom. John's story is a reminder that financial success is not a privilege reserved for the select few. It's not about the cards you're dealt, but how you play your hand. It's about making the most of the opportunities that come your way, about turning the tides in your favor through sheer determination and strategic thinking. John's story proves that anyone can achieve financial success. It's not about where you start, but where you're willing to go. John's journey from poverty to wealth is a testament to the power of decision-making, strategy, resilience, and action. Let's take a moment to reflect on the key takeaways from John's inspiring story. First, we saw the surprising fact of wealth accumulation. Wealth isn't a product of luck or inheritance, it's a result of strategic decisions and consistent action. John was no different. He was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He was just a regular guy with an extraordinary determination. We then introduced John, a man faced with financial adversity. His life wasn't easy, but he had something that set him apart. The will to change his circumstances, the courage to dream big, and the audacity to act on his dreams. The turning point in John's life was when he decided to take control of his financial future. He didn't wait for a miracle, he became the miracle. He formulated a strategy, a roadmap to financial freedom. And then came the challenges, but remember, every challenge presents an opportunity for growth. John saw these challenges not as setbacks, but as stepping stones to his ultimate goal. He overcame each one with unwavering determination and unyielding resilience. We witnessed the fruits of John's labor, his transformation from a man in financial despair to a man of wealth. His journey is a stark reminder that wealth accumulation is not an overnight process. It requires time, patience, and above all, action. Remember, wealth isn't reserved for a select few. It's attainable for anyone who's willing to take the necessary steps. So, what's stopping you?